It has been said, winning takes precedence over all. A winner is the first one in and the last one out. Winners want it. Winners look within. It's been said, winners never quit. Wait, winners do quit. They quit the wrong things so they can win at the right things.
Welcome everybody to Element Church. So glad you are with us. I'm going to give a shout out right now to our St. Charles campus. Everybody watching online all over the world. Right now we have Nepal online, Puerto Rico, our friends in Mexico, Philippines, Thailand, all over from coast to coast. Let's just welcome everybody here to Element. So glad you're with us. Another new year. How crazy that is. It just flies, and we know the cycle, right? We come to the end of December and we begin to have some time to reflect, and we kind of review, where are we? We take inventory. So we review our life, we reflect on our life, then we have a bunch of regrets about our life. And then we go, all right, I'm going to set a bunch of new resolutions. The problem is statistics show that 80% of all resolutions get broken. Some of us are so good, we've already broken almost all of our resolutions. Maybe the best resolution is no more resolution sometimes, right? And so we go, you know what? I know what I'm going to do. I'm just going to try harder. I'm going to do more willpower. I'm going to get a positive mentality because winners don't quit. You've heard that if you've ever played sports. You don't quit. Suck it up. Come on, go, go, go. And that coach is in your face going, winners don't quit. Maybe your dad said, winners never quit. And that's just gone through your mind. And hey, you know what? That makes a really good bumper sticker. Winners never quit. It sells athletic clothing in an Under Armour commercial or a Nike commercial. It's great, but it's not true. Winners quit all the time. In fact, if you really study the greatest achievers in life in any field or in any endeavor, you will find that they probably quit more than most people that are losing. The difference is simply this: they are quitting the right things to focus on the best things to become great. There was a man named George many years ago who played in the Major League Baseball in the United States, and he was a pitcher. In fact, he was actually a very good pitcher. Statistically, had he kept pitching, the odds are he would have made it into the Hall of Fame as a pitcher. But one day he decided to quit and take a much easier position. This position required less practice, less effort, less energy, less injuries. He became an outfielder. Now, the average person who would have looked at George, would have said, George, don't you know winners never quit? What are you doing? Get back in there. Suck it up. Come on, George. But the difference was this. It's why he quit. He quit pitching to focus on an area that he actually was better, and that was hitting. So George Herman, or you know him as Babe Ruth, quit pitching. Even though he could have made it into the Hall of Fame as a pitcher, he quit pitching to focus on hitting, and he became, for almost 40 years, the home run hitter, held the record for almost 40 years as one of the greatest all-time home run hitters of all time. But winners don't quit, George. Yeah, no, they do. Sometimes they quit something, maybe even good, to focus on becoming great at something that truly is better. And what we're going to do in this series is we're going to learn some really practical things about why we should quit more. We're going to learn how to quit. Now, some of you are already really good at this. You're just quitting the wrong things that you should be keeping. We're going to take that same energy you already have, because you've already perfected it, and we're just going to move it into the right area. So you're already one step ahead. For those of you who perfected quitting, you're doing good, all right? We're just gonna channel it properly. And then we're gonna talk about where do we wanna quit? What are those things we should be quitting? And so we're not gonna be able to get all this done in one message, but we're laying a foundation week by week, and you're gonna learn why we quit, how to quit, and where to quit. And this will truly be a life-changing message if you just take these principles and apply them to your life. 1 Corinthians chapter 3. I love the book of Corinthians. This book is for any senior pastor who ever feels discouraged with his flock of sheep in his church. So anytime I'm having a bad day, I tend to read 1 Corinthians on Monday when I get bad emails, just to feel good about myself. Because I think the Corinthian church was probably one of the most dysfunctional churches in the world. And when you just really study the problems and the issues, it was a very dysfunctional church. But Paul had some great things to say about the church. God did some great things in the church. But anytime I feel discouraged, I read Corinthians and I go, I got an amazing church. Thank God for Element Church. You guys are awesome. You're nothing like this church. So high five the person next to you and go, yay, we're great. Okay. Paul is talking about the context to this. He's going, I have laid a foundation as a wise master builder, that foundation being Jesus Christ. And he talks about how others come and build on that foundation. So there's multiple applications. Number one, this passage is for pastors and leaders that are building God's house, building God's church. And then he's talking about what are you adding to that. This also applies to you and I individually because we are God's house. The Bible talks about how we are the temple of God. So we can apply this personally to our life and we can apply this corporately to our life. So look through the lens personally as we read this. If anyone builds on this foundation using gold, silver, costly stones, wood, hay, or straw, their work will be shown for what it is because the day will bring it to light. It will be revealed with fire. The fire will test the quality of each person's work. If what he has built survives, the builder will receive a reward. If it is burned up, the builder will suffer loss, yet he will be saved. So the context of this is the day is referring to the day that all believers will stand before the throne of Christ and be judged. Now, we're not judged for our sins because Jesus was judged for our sins. Those who've accepted Jesus Christ's sacrifice, his shed blood, we aren't standing before what's called the great white throne where we're judged for our sins. We're standing before the Bema seat of Christ, and that is the reward seat of Christ. In the Greek, it's a reference to the Olympic podium that's called a rostrum, where the Olympians stand, the gold medalists, the bronze, the silver. This is the reward seat that will stand before Christ, and there will be that day that we stand before God. What happens in that day? God is judging the things we did in our life in terms of our works, what we did for God, or at times what we didn't do for God, because there's omission and commission, and God is judging both of those. As you're building your life, there are things that you do that are gold, they're silver, and they're precious stones. They're quality. The Bible says he'll test the quality of each person's life, each person's work. Now, there's wood, there's hay, and there's stubble. So before the throne of God, we're going to basically see our life presented in some form or another, and the fire of God, so to speak, will burn up the things that had no value, the things that were worthless, the things that were done with selfish motives, the things that were done out of pride and ego or selfishness in some way. And it'll all burn up. And the only thing that's really going to be left is gold, silver, and precious stone. You can burn gold and silver. It doesn't go away. It may change into a liquid status, but it's still gold and silver. Wood, hay, and stubble is going to burn. Have you ever asked the question, God, why do I keep going through all these trials? Why do I keep going through all these problems? Does anybody ever feel like life is, you're in the frying pan and then you're into the fire and it's just like, when will it ever end? Anybody besides me ever just go, why all these problems? And sometimes the more you serve God, the more life gets heated up. Well, Peter says, don't be surprised at the fiery trials that you encounter. God loves you and I so much that he allows small fires called fiery trials this side of heaven to test the quality of what we're doing now so that we can course correct so that when we stand before God, our whole life didn't go up in flames. See, little fires, little trials right now actually test the quality of what you're doing. Man, why in the world did I lose my job? God, I thought you said you loved me. I thought you said you were my provider. God allowed a little fiery trial to maybe reveal to you that you were living so focused on something and putting all your energy into something that you were neglecting the more important thing, your marriage, your kids, your relationship with God. God allowed a little fiery trial to get your attention so that you could begin to focus on quality of life. Have you gone through a crisis where all of a sudden in your crisis you lost a bunch of friends at one time and you're like, God, why did that happen? God, I thought you loved me. I thought you said you'd never leave me. You'd never forsake me. And now I got all these problems and all these houses. God loved you enough to allow a little fiery trial, because here's what happened. Inside of that fiery trial, there were relationships that were burned up, so to speak, that went away, so to speak, because here's what happened. You don't know your friends when things are good, you know your friends in adversity. Right. So here's what you found. Maybe God said, hey, you've been investing time in relationships that aren't real, that aren't really friends, that aren't really gonna add value to your life. And I allowed this little fiery trial to let that burn up right now. So you didn't spend an entire life wasting time and energy into something that was adding no value to your life. Now you know who you really should be investing in, because it's the people that are still with you. Yeah, that's good. God allows short-term pain for the long-term gain. Because if we didn't have any fiery trials this side of heaven, we think we're doing great. Then we stand before God, we got U-Hauls of wood, hay, and stubble. And all you got is a really good weenie roast, and get out the marshmallows and make some s'mores as you watch your entire lifetime go up in flames. We don't want that. So that's why God allows these short little problems. Now, I want to show you a stack of money. And so if you were to take a look at this stack of money, you'd probably go, I could use that right now. That might be part of one of your resolutions this year. Get more of that. How about keep more of that? That would even be better. You already had that, you just couldn't keep it. Let's just start with keep that. And this message, if you apply it, will actually help you keep that, all right? This will help every part of your life. But you go, hey, that's really great. Now, if you had a choice between this stack and that stack, which one do you choose? Which one are you gonna choose? You go, well, I'm gonna take that big old stack of money, because that is a lot of money. Now, you're looking at it from a perspective. But if we get a 30,000 foot overview, we change our perspective, we look down upon it, not just at it, it might change your perspective. Oh, okay, now what stack do you take? Do you take a stack of $1 bills, or you take the shorter, small stack of $100 bills? You take the hundreds. Why? Quality over quantity. Why? Because the $100 bill has more fake value than the fake ones, right? So, there are people, when you look at your life, you have quantity, but not necessary quality. What's interesting in this passage, God's gonna test the quality of our life. Yeah. It did not say test the quantity of our life. And many of us have 200 $1 bills rather than 10 $100 bills in terms of what our life is producing. If we did less of the wrong things to do more of the right things, ultimately we would have more quality. And you know what happens when you have more quality? You actually end up with more quantity. Amen. So life should not be measured by busy. Life and success should not be measured by activity. Life should be measured by quality over quantity. It's not the quantity of friends, but the quality of friends. It's not the quantity of time that you spent with your spouse, sitting side by side, staring at a glowing box. We had 10 hours together. Yeah, but you haven't talked in 3 months. It's not quantity of time with your kids, it's the quality of time with your kids. Kids want quantity as well, but quality. With God even. It's not that you read 57 chapters. I would rather read one verse that impacted me, that I applied to my life, and it produced change and brought me closer to Jesus and looked more like Jesus than 57 chapters I totally forgot and didn't apply because I was thinking about 15 other things while I was trying to get my to-do list done. So I just want to throw out this thought, because you're going to repeat all the things you did not like about last year. I'm a prophet. People don't know that. Here's my prophecy. Last year is simply a forecast of this year. Because last year was a repeat of the year before that, and the year before that, and the year before that. Why? Because we didn't change a behavior. Therefore, we're going to repeat it. What's the behavior? We say yes to everything. Hey, will you come to this party? Yes. Will you accept my friend request? Yes. And we say yes to everything. What if we said no to more and less and yes to less? Yeah. And it's saying yes to the right things. Why? Because we want quality over quantity. Investors love this term. Business owners love this term. ROI, 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 ROI. Learn it, love it, live it. Learn it, love it, live it. And it's return on investment. Right. What's the return on your investment? One of the greatest game changers in your life is the moment you begin to stop thinking just in terms of time, but start thinking time in terms of money. When you go to work and you get paid, all you did was gave time and they gave you money back. All money is time reprinted in a currency form. Right. Now think about this. When you're giving your time, you're giving away your life. Because the moment you're out of time, you're out of life. I meet people all the time. I don't have time to go to church. Well, congratulations, you're dead. What do you mean? If you don't have time, you're dead. Only dead people don't have time. You have time, you just might not be managing that time. It might be managing you, but if you don't have time to do the right things, then here's what I know. It's managing you, you're not managing it. Because you don't understand return on investment. Think as an investor. You can do three things with money, and you can do three things with time. You can invest it, you can spend it, or you can squander it. The one difference between time and money is you can do a fourth thing, you can save it. But you can't save time. So let me ask this question. If a doctor, you go into the doctor, you go in for your checkup, the doctor says, man, I got some really bad news for you, and that is tomorrow's your last day to live. You're gonna die. And you know you got one day to live. Do you change anything in your life for the next day, that last day that you live? Here's a quick question. How much time are you going to spend checking your social media account? Bigger question, how many people are you going to follow and read their stuff that makes no sense and has no value added to your life? Are you going to cancel some appointments? Are you going to schedule some other appointments? Are you going to have some conversations you've been putting off? Are you going to change some things? Of course you would. So here's my question. Why don't we do that today? Amen. What would happen if we just lived every day as if it was our last day? That's actually a biblical concept. James says, you who say tomorrow we're going to go do this, and tomorrow we're going to do such and such. He goes, that's foolishness because you don't know what tomorrow holds. Right. Here's a great statement. Those who live in the land of tomorrow I'm going to do this, tomorrow I'm going to do that, tomorrow I'm going to do that. It never happens, and here's why. Tomorrow never comes. Do you know that? You never have a tomorrow. You only have a today. Because once tomorrow's here, it's not tomorrow. What is it? Today. Now, today was yesterday's tomorrow, or yesterday's tomorrow. But it's not called yesterday. We don't say, hey, welcome to yesterday. It's today. Why? Because tomorrow technically never comes, because the only thing you have is today. You can't go into your past and you don't have your future, you have today. What would happen if you took every moment of your life and said, I'm going to be an investor of my time, and I'm gonna live this day as if it was my last day, and I'm gonna build my calendar, build my relationships, build my priorities based on that. But to do that, you're gonna have to quit some things that don't matter, or reduce some things that don't matter to do the things that really do. If you knew this was your last day, would you spend any time talking to God? I have a feeling that's mostly what you would be doing. Lord, I'm so sorry about that. And yes, I'm gonna go fix that. And I'm gonna write that pastor back and apologize for everything I ever said about him behind his back and every email ever. You're gonna be fixing this stuff. So good. Isaiah chapter 30, verse 15. In returning and rest you shall be saved. In quietness and confidence shall be your strength. But you would not. Why? Because you're an American. And you said, no, we're gonna flee with more horsepower. We're gonna go faster. And therefore you shall flee, and we will ride on swift horsepowers. Therefore those who pursue you shall be swift. So Israel would run down to Egypt for help whenever it had problem. Egypt is always a picture of the world's ways, the world's principles, worldly stuff. And God said, look, when you're running into problems, stop running to Egypt, just stop and come to me. Salvation is found in resting in God, with God, before God. But here's how we think. We think velocity will automatically equal victory. So corporations do this, we as individuals do this. Oh man, we got problems. Here's the answer, go faster. If we go fast enough, we can outrun our problem. Hey, we got an issue in sales. The sales are declining. Hey, let's go faster. Let's go faster in our marketing. Let's go faster in sales revenue growth. Let's go faster. Faster doesn't always equal success. Look, if you're in an airplane and you're in a nosedive, faster is not what you need. You need quality. You need to slow down, pull the throttle back, and quit the nosedive. There are many people that see a collision coming in their marriage. Let's go faster. No, let's slow down. God's saying slow down. I love this. There was a TV show back when I was a kid growing up, and it was the ABC Wide World of Sports. And my favorite part of that program was actually the opening of it. And so there's a scene on there I want to show you. For those of you that were too young and missed out on the high quality stuff before virtual reality and all these things that we now have and computer graphics, this is just good classic TV right here. Take a look at this.
Spanning the globe to bring you the constant variety of sport, the thrill of victory, and the agony of defeat.
Ooh, every time I would see that dude go off the ski ramp and crash, I'd go, ooh. For years, I thought the guy was dead. Because you look at that and you go, he is dead. He is a goner. Well, some years later, actually, I think it was in the leadership book I was reading, I ran across more information about that, and it was this. The guy actually walked away with a headache, and his crash was deliberate and intentional. You go, what? That's crazy. Well, not when you hear the story. He was gaining so much velocity. He was gaining so much speed that he actually felt he would overshoot the landing, and he wouldn't have landed on the snow and the ice, he would have landed on the pavement. That will kill you. So he intentionally changed course for a crash. He walked away with nothing more than a headache, but it saved his life. Right. See, there are people who are on collision courses, and they have a lot of velocity, and they think just more velocity is gonna be the answer. No, there's pavement coming and it's gonna hurt. The answer to your life is not faster and it's not necessarily more. It might be stop, slow down, get with God, get your priorities right, let him speak into that. Focus on the things that really matter. I meet people all the time. Hey, how's it going? Oh, I'm busy. I mean, that's a badge of honor. Like that, you're a good American or a good human when you're busy. I mean, do you ever meet somebody and, hey, how's it going? I'm just lazing around. Call me sloth. I ain't doing much. Nobody wants to say that. Somehow there's shame in actually, I took a break, I rested, I spent time before God. I'm going really slow right now. I mean, if you're a business owner, who wants to go to the next business luncheon and everybody's talking about all they're doing and all they've added, and who wants to go, yeah, we've slowed down. We're focusing on quality. Truett Cathy, founder of Chick-fil-A, early in the organization, all the young bucks, all the young leaders were like, we need to grow, we need to expand, we need to get market share, we need to expand a franchise, and da-da-da, and they had all these things that they were pressuring Truett Cathy with. And this is what Truett Cathy said. He said, if we get better, our customers will demand we get bigger. Right. And he didn't rush to expand. He didn't believe the lie that velocity automatically equals victory, and he focused on quality, and automatically it will ultimately produce quantity. But we think quantity and velocity is what's going to fix all of our problems. God says, slow down. Psalms 46, verse 10, be still and know that I am God. Be still and know that I am God. Everything we need is in him. Everything we're really looking for and faster and more, we're actually missing it because it's truly found in him. The bread of life that satisfies the hungers of our soul, it's God. And if you really think about our life, if we reflect, it's us pursuing quantity, it's us pursuing more, it's us doing more of the wrong things that actually keep us from the best things. John chapter 15, verse 1 and 2. So we're going to close with, what are some just practical things we can do? I'm the true vine, my Father is the vine dresser. Every branch in me that does not bear fruit, he takes away. Every branch that bears fruit, he prunes that it may bear more. Investors use this term, Wall Street uses this term, and it's cut your losers, let your winners run. Cut your losers, let your winners run. What many people do is they cut their winners and buy more losers. Human nature is that. I'm losing here, I better put more into it. God doesn't do that. God looks at the tree, and when there's a dead branch and it's not producing fruit, it's not green, it's not thriving, he goes, I'm gonna cut that. Right. Why? Because it will allow that which is producing fruit to bear more fruit. Yeah. So what are the things in your life that if you cut, it would actually produce more? Here's a great statement, especially if you're running an organization, if you're managing. Anytime you want to start something new, if you're a mom, anytime your kids want to start something new, hey, I want to start this new sport. I want to start this new hobby. I want to start. Anytime you want to start something new, ask this follow-up question. What are we going to stop in order to start? Because if you never stop, cut it, if you never stop something and all you do is keep starting something, again, all you did was increase quantity and diluted quality. Right, that's good. And then you reach a thing called burnout. Then you reach a thing called cool little white rooms with padded cells and special jackets. It's called motherhood. Right? Why? Because being a good mom, you said yes to everything and everybody and didn't stop nothing. Right. This will change your life. You can send me a check later. Rather than Timmy or Sally taking 36 sports that they're good at none of them, Be honest. I saw them. No. You're the only one that thinks they're good. Why not do one sport and do it really well and get a life, then do 36 sports? Hey, newsflash. It is not a biblical commandment that your kid has to be at an activity 7 days a week, 365 days a year. Because, do you know that is the absolute number one excuse? And I use the word excuse appropriately. It's the number one excuse I hear why people can't be consistent in church. So, the goal for your kid is to make the Hall of Fame, or is the goal for your kid to make it to heaven? Hey, I'd rather my kid be a nobody in heaven than a somebody in hell. Now, if you build it right and you build it appropriately, it doesn't mean your kid still can't be a Christian Hall of Famer and do great things for God. But here's what I know. There's nobody in the Hall of Fame who did 50 sports at one time. Right. They became great at one thing. Be strategic. Cut things that aren't winning. Cut things that aren't producing. There's some relationships you should probably do less of. And why not put more into the ones that are life-giving and thriving? You know that person? They're the person who lights up the room when they leave. Everybody's happy when they leave. If you aren't laughing, it might be you. I don't find that very funny. I don't get it. What's the deal? That's kind of sarcastic, Pastor. We all know one. Why are you spending all your time with that person that sucks your joy, sucks your faith? You get around them, oh man, I'm gonna get so excited for God. I got things I'm gonna do. I'm gonna start that small group. Well, have you ever led a small group before? What if somebody asks you a question and you don't have an answer? How are you gonna feel? How are you gonna handle that? I mean, you've never been to Bible college. Do you really think you're ready? You need to cut some relationships. You need to get around firefighters. I'm sorry, get away from the firefighters and get around the firelighters. What you need is a few pyros in your life. You really do. Everybody needs a pyro friend. What's a pyro friend? It's this: the person that likes to light your enthusiasm. Hey, I had an idea. Oh, that's a great idea. Let's talk about it. How can we make that happen? That person that will get in there, believe with you, believe in you, fight for you, fight with you at times. I'd rather have one pyro friend for my faith than 10 firefighters. You tell me all the reasons I stink and I'm not good enough. I already knew that. I get up every day knowing that, and the devil's right there to remind me. I have a little video that I put together to help illustrate this. Take a look. Life is so much like a balancing act. It's really kind of like a set of scales. On one end of the scale of life, we have a bunch of little things. I call these little rocks. They're important. We have to get them done. We have errands we have to do. We have to take the kids to the game. We have to go grocery shopping. We got to get our hair done. We got to get the oil changed. And life just has a bunch of little things that really do matter. If they don't get done, it definitely shows up and impacts the bottom line in our life at some point. But if all our life is consumed with a bunch of little things, what happens is we come to the end of our life or to the end of a season and we realize I was busy, but I didn't really produce anything. So what I call are the big rocks of life that we have to continually assess and evaluate. What's the big rock that I really need to get done this week or this month or this year? And it really could represent a span of time. I think in weeks, I think in months, quarters, half a year, and decades, and then ultimately my whole life. So what are the big rocks that you need to get done? I call a big rock really just something that really has meaning, has significance. If you're a business owner, it might be, what is the big rock and how do we increase our profits? How do we, increase the bottom line? How do we reduce our costs? How do we reduce waste? How do we reduce employee turnover? And those are big rocks that have big impact at the bottom line of our company. What it might be a big rock inside of your marriage that you're spending quality time, that you're improving your communication skills. What might be the big rock that really produces a lot in terms of your parenting, and that is making intentional time for your kids and learning to be a good listener, learning to help them learn to solve problems. We all have big rocks that at the end of our life, end of the day, really matter most. So I want to put this on side of the scale, and we want to reach the point where we're really getting those big rocks done, the big rocks accomplished. For me, the big rock of life is this. I want to come to the end of my life. I want to stand before Jesus, and I want to hear him say, "Well done, good and faithful servant." That's really the biggest rock that I can achieve inside of my lifetime. Now, we all have other rocks that really are discretionary rocks. How much time we put into our hobby. I think hobbies are healthy in balance and moderation, but we throw that onto the scale, and let's say we just have a little too much of a good thing. Enjoyment, just personal taste, like ice cream. Ice cream is a good thing, but I think we can get out of balance. If you're over a gallon a day, you might be out of moderation. Just being serious there. Okay. So, we might be looking at, spending time with friends. I think it's good to have good relationships, but, maybe you're spending too much time with friends. It's too often with friends. Social media. You're just spending way too much time on social media, and you're getting hung up, and I got to check this, and what did they say? Did they like my post? And we all have a bunch of these little rocks that begin to fill up our schedule, but they're discretionary. But there comes this point where we've just added enough of the little rocks that it's now tipped the scale, and we aren't going to get the big rock, the most important things done inside of our life. So this is where the concept of less actually can produce more. So if we do less of the unimportant things, less of the little things that really don't matter, so we can achieve more of the big things, the big rocks, it gives us a much more successfully balanced life. So, thank you. As you begin to identify those things that aren't producing fruit, those things that really aren't adding value to your life, to your walk with God, your marriage, important relationships, as you begin to reduce those or trim those or certain ones you just cut, it gives you margin now to put into those things that are actually producing fruit. Statistically, when we look at church trends, what we find is New Year's, January, is one of the biggest influxes that we have of people coming to church, and we love that, and we celebrate that. And many of you are here for the first time, or maybe you're back in a long time, because we get to the end of the year and I want to make some changes, and I know church is a part of that, and you know what, my walk with God isn't where I want it to be, so I'm going to go back to church, and it's great, and we celebrate that you're here. Unfortunately, statistics show that about half of the people who come back in January won't be here after Easter. What happened? Well, your intentions didn't change. You have good intentions. You want to do the right thing. But here's what happened. You added something that was good without stopping the things that were keeping you from sustaining the new thing you started. So in order to keep this new habit, that is a good habit, that is a life-changing habit, what are the few things you're going to reduce or tweak or modify to give you the margin that you go, no, church and God and being around other Christians and getting in a small, that's going to be what I build my life around because God needs to be first. How are you going to tweak these other things to give you margin to stick with this? Yeah. See, if you study habits, what you really find is this. You don't break a habit, you replace a habit. Okay. So you go, I'm going to stop this. Well, it's hard to stop something that in your neuroscience and all those things, there's ruts, there's patterns, there's chemicals, all those things. It's hard. What you have to do is actually replace it. Yeah. You got a groove, you got a rut there. Something needs to be in it. It's just getting the right thing in there. So you will tend to always gravitate to what are the strongest ruts inside of your habits, inside of your life. It's just now taking that and replacing it with the right habit and the right patterns. But you can't do it all. unless you're stopping certain things or replacing certain things. That was good. All right, invest in your winners. Luke chapter 19, we'll close at this passage. Luke chapter 19, verse 13. This is different than the parable in Matthew chapter 25. Jesus talks about servants that he gave one 5 talents, one 3 talents, and another 1 talent. That parable is referring to giftedness. All of us have different amounts of giftedness. Have you ever met that person that they're good at like literally everything they do? They play a sport, they're amazing. Chess, they're amazing. Underwater basket weaving, natural. I mean, like they're just good at everything, right? And then like me, I was the kid who had to study all night for my test and still get a C+, right? You know, C-spot run, like I studied my brains out on C-spot run, and then the other kid didn't do nothing, shows up, gets an A+ and a Harvard scholarship. Like, I mean, what happened there, right? And there's those people. All of us have different aptitudes. All of us have been given different levels of capacity in terms of giftedness. And you can't necessarily change that. You can use it, but you can't necessarily change those natural aptitudes. But this to me is a great verse because this is the great equalizer in terms of opportunity. Luke chapter 19, verse 13. So he called 10 of his servants and delivered to them 10 minas and said to them, do business till I come. So he had 10 servants and he gave each one of them a mina, which was a measure of money. So then he follows up later with those 10 servants to see what they did with that measurement of money. Luke 19, verse 13. Then the first said, Master, your mina has earned 10 minas. And he said, I bought some Apple stock at $4 a share. I hold it and did good. And he said to him, well done, good servant, because you were faithful in very little, have authority over 10 cities. The second came saying, Master, your mina has earned 5. Then he said to him, good job, you get 5 cities. Then there was the one who didn't do anything with the one. The parable is this. All of us have the same opportunity. We don't all have the same giftedness, but we all have the same opportunity. What is that? We all have 24 hours in a day. Nobody gets more, nobody gets less. Bill Gates has the same amount of time in a day as you do. Warren Buffett had the same 24 hours in a day that you've had for the last 40 years. He just used it differently than you. You can get mad at the rich person or the successful company or the successful business or the Christian who has a deeper walk with God and get mad at them and say life isn't fair. No, Jesus said it is fair because we all have the same amount of time each and every day. The difference is what we do with that time. You can't watch 10 hours of TV a day and think you're going to build a great company. You can't watch 10 hours of TV a day and think you're going to produce the greatest kids in all the world. I don't understand why they got so lucky. Look at their kids. Their kids are amazing and they're winners and they're doing such great things. And why does my kid look like Satan's sister? You can't lock your kid in a room with video game all day and then wonder what happened. We all have the same amount of time as a parent. We all have the same amount of time as a marriage. We all have the same amount of time as a Christ follower, as a business owner, or whatever you want. You got 24 hours in a day, and the good news is this: you get to decide what you do with it. No, I don't. Other people do. Well, fire them and get control of your life. You can stand before Jesus and have excuses, but it won't excuse you. Merry Christmas for next year. I read a book one time that was, I remembered this stuck with me, and I saved this illustration I wanted to pass on to you because it just helps you really think through this concept of what am I doing with my time. So back when this book was written, which was many years ago, this was pre the transitory inflation lie that we have right now. Hey, I'm not a political guy. I don't get into that, but just know if the Fed talks, just believe whatever the opposite is they say, because they're liars. They're a cartel. They're corrupt. Just saying it. I had to say it because the news stations weren't. It's a corrupt cartel that's controlled by other people. This is all I'm saying, okay? You and I knew inflation was here a long time ago. Right. Like when Kraft macaroni and cheese used to be 50 cents a box, and now it's $1 a box. It still tastes delicious, but all right. Just a little side nugget there. So Thank you for listening. A bar of iron, it was $5 at the time of this writing. So you have a $5 bar of iron. Now, you can take that and you can use it to create a variety of products. This same bar of iron, you can make horseshoes, and those horseshoes would have a value of $10. Oh, that's cool, all right? Now, you could take those same bar of iron, and instead, you could make scissors. You can make nice, high-quality scissors, and now that same $5 bar of iron has been converted into an $83 value. Now, if you made needles, you would now have $8,300 in value from that same bar of iron. But if you made surgical instruments, high-grade surgical instruments, you could be looking at $33,000 for that same bar of iron. And then if you made balance springs for apparently Rolex watches, you would have $166,000. $5? Somewhere between $166,000. The question is this: which are you? We all start out with raw, undeveloped talent. We all start out with raw, undeveloped potential. God gifted you. God has a plan for you. The question is, what are you doing to intentionally develop to become the best you can possibly be in God? Wow. You get to make that choice. Right. Every head bowed, every eye closed. Lord, we thank you that you have a plan, you have a purpose for us, that you desire a relationship with us. God, help us not repeat the things we don't like about the past in our life, to help us make changes and shifts and to cut the losers in our life, the things that are sucking out the energy and the life and the joy and the calling of God, so that we can invest into the things that are important, the things that add value, the things that make our walk with you deeper, the things that make us better men and women and husbands and wives and parents and friends. God, help us simply learn to quit so that we can win in the right places. I'm just gonna ask for a moment, every head bowed, every eye closed, everybody watching online, all over America, all around the world. I wanna give you an opportunity to take the greatest step, the most important thing you can do with your life, and that is to know Jesus Christ as your Lord and as your Savior. Jesus died because we've all fallen short of the glory of God. We've all made mistakes. We've all sinned. Jesus paid the price for our sins. He hung on a cross. He rose from the dead. And right there where you are, you can have the greatest life transformation of all, and that is called salvation. That's the new birth. That's becoming brand new on the inside with the fresh start in Christ. And it's simply a prayer away. I'd love to lead you in that prayer wherever you're at, there at St. Charles, all over. Would you join in with us in saying this prayer? Maybe you've been away from God and you go, you know what, that's me. I've wandered, I've drifted, I need to come back. Pray a prayer of rededication with us. Join in with us as we say this. We love you, we believe in you. We're all gonna say this together. Jesus, thank you that you died for my sins, that you rose from the dead. I need you. I surrender my life to call you Savior, to follow you as my Lord. Thank you for saving me, for forgiving me, for a fresh start. In Jesus' name, amen. Amen. Church, let's give him a big hand clap.